My name is Josh Hobbs. I'm the Chief of the Fire and Explosion Investigations Bureau, and I will cover a little bit about the factors that involve our bureau today in regards to fireworks. So our role within fireworks this is a very important factor as to how we relate to fireworks. We're responsible for responding to and initiating investigations into all major fireworks incidents in the state of Ohio, executing the law enforcement functions surrounding illegal fireworks transactions and/or thefts, conducting both covert and overt investigations into the legal sale and/or manufacturing of fireworks, and coordinating the destruction of illegal fireworks with local bomb squads across Ohio. So we do a lot of triaging when it comes to requests regarding these things. However, we will provide at least a consultation, if not direct involvement, when it comes to these things. So as you all know and have probably heard before, the basic types of fireworks involved trick and novelties, the 1.4G consumer grade, the 1.3G fireworks professional, which is the highest of priorities for FEIB, 1.4S fireworks of special effects, 1.1G, and the improvised fireworks, the homemade. And that's something I'll talk a little bit more about. That is becoming more problematic and something that FEIB is dealing a lot more with. So who regulates fireworks? The agency we deal with the most is the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives, DOT involved in the transportation, Customs, the CPSC, and that's regards to firecrackers only, the NFPA, the State Fire Marshal, and the local authorities who will set forth their own ordinances regarding fireworks. So 1.4G consumer fireworks. So beginning July 1st, 2022, Ohioans can legally discharge 1.4G consumer fireworks in the state. However, the discharge is only permitted on specific days and at specific times. So the O.R.C. and O.F.C. sections are listed here, and local political subdivisions may ban fireworks or restrict the dates and times that fireworks can be used. This is a local decision and a local enforcement issue in our regard. So that's something that the locals can enforce and the locals have developed. So FEIB, unless it involves a state law, would be staying out of that unless requested in by the locals, and there was another angle to that scenario. So discharge firework dates: the first day of January, the Chinese New Year, the 5th day of May, the last Monday in May, and the Saturday and Sunday immediately preceding that day, the 19th day of June, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th days of July, the first Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before and after the 4th day of July, the first Monday of September, and the Saturday and Sunday immediately preceding that day, Diwali, and the 31st day of December. And I believe the cutoff time is normally 11 p.m. with the exception of New Year's, which is 1 a.m. on the discharge. Something that we've run into already this year a little bit from questions is regarding the age of those involved and the age of those that end up getting injured. So no person under the age of 18 is permitted to handle or discharge fireworks. Persons under the age of 18 cannot be within 150 feet of the discharge point of aerial fireworks. We already encountered some cases this year that involved juvenile injuries with proximity issues like this. Handled by the locals, it did not end up involving us in terms of charging, but it did involve juveniles being injured or too close to the actual display, if you will. Aerial devices can't be discharged within 150 feet of spectators, and this includes aerial shells, Roman candles, cakes, and bottle rockets. And non-aerial devices cannot be discharged within 50 feet of spectators, which would be fountains, firecrackers, and the ground effect devices. So consumer fireworks possession, storage, and handling, just some things to cover here. They have to be handled carefully and with due consideration of the explosive nature of fireworks. That's something that's often not considered, is that these have explosive properties, and the flash powder inside a basic consumer firework is still very volatile. As you know, with the Boston Marathon bombings and stuff, that was what was used, and to great effect. They have to be stored in compliance and not in a manner that endangers the public at large. Stored in an amount not greater than 125 pounds net weight pyrotechnic composition within any structure, building, or vehicle. And 125 pounds net weight pyrotechnics composition is very volatile within itself. That could be a very bad situation if something went wrong. So stored at least 150 feet from other explosives, explosive material, and/or hazardous materials, and stored in a cool, dry place away from ignition sources, including but not limited to heat, shock, friction, and sparks, and at least 25 feet from hot work activity, open flames, and flammable and combustible liquids, including but not limited to gasoline, diesel fuel, and kerosene. As we all know, that would be a very bad situation. consumer fireworks storage and cleanup. And this is where we have had an incident. I will bring this incident up right now when it comes to post-discharge of 1.4 grade product, as we had an incident in Oxford, Ohio a few years ago where a discharged product that had not been detonated and was assumed to have been detonated was picked up and messed with by a young juvenile who was severely critically injured by that product. It was assumed to have been discharged. It was refuse in an alleyway. So that's a point that I'll bring up while presenting on this topic. 1.4G fireworks shall not be stored in sleeping areas within the means of egress and mechanical or service areas of any occupancy group or residential location, or outside in open areas unless the 1.4G fireworks are properly permitted and stored in a magazine. 1.4G fireworks shall not be stored at any occupancy within any residential facility. Cleanup. So any person who discharges 1.4G fireworks shall conduct an inspection of all affected premises to locate debris resulting from the discharge of 1.4G fireworks and promptly removed and properly dispose of such debris. So this is where things happen. That's why 1.3G displays often are inspected over and over after the display happens by the exhibitor because of unspent shells. That goes the same for 1.4G. They don't always go off. They actually may launch. The lift charge may take the firework to a location, but the firework may not eventually detonate. So that presents an inherent danger. So such inspection and cleanup shall occur immediately after the discharge or within 12 hours of the discharge if the discharge occurs after dark. So that presents, a danger for not only the person exhibiting, going back and picking it up, but some routine juvenile or somebody else messing with it the days following. No person under the age of 18 is permitted to handle or discharge fireworks. Persons under the age of 18 can't be within 150 feet of the discharge point. The indoor discharge of 1.4G fireworks. The presence of tents within a 1.4 fireworks discharge site while fireworks are being charged is prohibited. The storage of 1.4G fireworks within the 1.4G fireworks discharge site in such a manner that an accidental ignition would have a high likelihood of occurring. And what's also prohibited is the pointing, aiming, or discharging of 1.4G fireworks at or towards any person or object, including bystanders, spectators, emergency services personnel, vehicles, aircraft, watercraft, or any structure. Not only has this been an issue in the state with riots recently, that being used, also you see this on YouTube and everywhere else where people are doing this to be funny, and the outcome is never good. So additional prohibitions, the discharge of 1.4G fireworks within the boundaries of any federal, state, or local forest, park, public recreation, or a place of nature conservancy. So any of the state parks in Ohio prohibited. The discharge of 1.4G fireworks in a manner that would be deemed hazardous to property or endanger a person or animal. The discharge of 1.4G fireworks within 150 feet of property that houses livestock measured from the point of discharge to the nearest point of the property line, unless the person who intends to discharge the fireworks provides at least 5 days written notice to the owner of the property where the livestock is housed, which states the date, time, and location where the fireworks will be discharged. We get a massive amount of complaints during the 4th of July period from people even calling our office regarding pets over the 4th of July. I can see where livestock would be a major issue if that's your livelihood. The discharge of 1.4G fireworks on a public property or private school property, also prohibited. Additional prohibitions would include the ignition or discharge of 1.4G fireworks on any street, highway, alley, or public way. The presence of smoking materials, matches, lighters, or open flame devices within 50 feet of an area in which 1.4G fireworks are present or other pyrotechnic materials are present. So in terms of accidents involving consumer-grade fireworks, any consumer fireworks discharge incident shall be reported to the fire code official and law enforcement official immediately. Oftentimes this happens a little after the fact, probably a little later than we would like, simply because they don't consider it at the time. It's an afterthought. Hey, we should call the state fire marshal. We should notify someone of this. We get a lot of these the weekend following the 4th, following the holiday. Sometimes we get them up to a week later when somebody within the fire department or police department says, hey, should we have not notified the state fire marshal or the local authority having jurisdiction? The fire code official shall immediately make a report regarding the fireworks incident and shall forward a copy of the report to the state fire marshal within 72 hours of the incident. Like I said, we often get these calls that morning after. It happens a lot, and we're in a consultation mode with most of these people because the majority of the time it's well known what occurred, and so that's not going to constitute any response from FEIB. Tampering, the disturbance, dismantling, repositioning, moving, or altering of any firework item, any associated equipment or other material, or any other item within the 1.4G fireworks discharge site, or any evidence related to the consumer firework discharge is prohibited. So if something injures somebody critically, the fire department hasn't had a chance to look at what happened, the police department or whatever, everything needs to be left alone until somebody has the ability to look at that, make a determination as to whether they can investigate it or it needs to be investigated by ourselves or another agency. So some fireworks laws, O.R.C. 374360, no person shall manufacture fireworks in this state unless it is a licensed manufacturer of fireworks, and no person shall operate a fireworks plant in this state unless it has been issued a license as a manufacturer of fireworks for that particular fireworks plant. That's a felony of the third degree. We are seeing this more often. FEIB in particular seeing this more often just because there are more how-tos available online in terms of how to make things like this happen. We see more incidents where people are using these successfully for whatever the reason, so therefore we are seeing an increase, and we have been prosecuting people for this more each year. Restrictions on operations as a wholesaler. No person except a licensed manufacturer of fireworks engaging the wholesale of fireworks as authorized by Division C2 of 374304 shall operate as a wholesaler of fireworks in the state unless it is a licensed wholesaler of fireworks, or shall operate as a wholesaler of fireworks at any location in the state unless it has been issued a license as a wholesaler of fireworks for that particular location. We had seen prior to the legalization of fireworks and some misinterpretations of the law by the public, we were receiving complaints every year on the wholesaling of fireworks, and would go out and would triage that as a bureau as to who was selling it, did they know better, who are they selling it to, and would oftentimes perform an undercover buy or confront those selling it. This year there was a little drop off because of the legalization. However, people don't realize that still requires you to be a wholesaler to sell fireworks. So this year it was a little drop off. I think it'll regulate itself in the future. Prohibitions concerning exhibitors and fireworks incidents. No person shall conduct a fireworks exhibition in the state or act as an exhibitor of fireworks unless the person is a licensed exhibitor of fireworks. That's a felony of the fourth degree. And no person shall knowingly permit another person to dismantle, reposition, or otherwise disturb any fireworks associated equipment or materials or other items within a firework incident site or any evidence related to that at any time after that person has a reason to believe a fireworks incident has occurred. Before the state fire marshal's designated or a member of the fire marshal staff or other appropriate state or local law enforcement agencies or authorities basically has had a chance to look at that. That's a felony of the third degree. So felony 4, misdemeanor 1 are generally a no jail time type offense. Once you get into the felony 3 level, that's when you start seeing people serve some time. Generally speaking, the likelihood of them serving time is a little higher. It's still a non-violent offense, but that's getting a little more serious, and it's going to carry a little bit more weight. Particularly the manufacturing of fireworks, illegal manufacturing, is taken seriously because of out of the context of potential use as a terroristic weapon or its ability to harm another person, or what was the purpose behind the manufacturing. So prosecutors take that pretty seriously. Other fireworks laws, limitations on shipping and transporting. No person shall transport fireworks in the state except in accordance with rules adopted by the fire marshal pursuant to 374358. That's first degree misdemeanor. We will get a call from OSP maybe once or twice a year regarding this situation, more of a consultation basis. We don't deal with that often. It's a little bit out of our league, but we will participate or consult with them to help them out in charging or assessing the situation. Limitations on shipping and transporting. As used in this division, fireworks includes only 1.3 and 1.4 fireworks. No person shall ship fireworks into this state by mail, parcel post, or common carrier unless the person possesses a valid shipping permit issued under section 374340 and the fireworks are shipped directly to the holder of that license. No person shall ship fireworks within the state by mail, parcel post, or common carrier unless the fireworks are shipped directly to the holder of a license. So we have seen that on occasion, but generally we're not involved until something goes wrong. We don't get these calls too much. We get these calls when something's gone wrong, and then we find some things out after the fact and have to readdress these. So the arrest of violators, seizure, and forfeiture. If the fire marshal, assistant fire marshal, certified fire safety inspector has probable cause to believe that fireworks are being manufactured, sold, possessed, transported, or used in violation of the chapter, those individuals may seize the fireworks. Any seizure of the fireworks shall be made in accordance with statutory and constitutional provisions governing searches and seizures by law enforcement officers. The fire marshal or certified fire safety inspector shall impound at the site or safely keep seized fireworks pending the time they are no longer needed as evidence. A sample of the seized fireworks is sufficient for evidentiary purposes. The remainder of the seized fireworks may be disposed of pursuant to an order from a court of competent jurisdiction after notice and a hearing. This section does not affect the authority of a peace officer. What we often try to do if we do seize fireworks is try to get those fireworks either destroyed as quickly as possible through a court order, maintain some samples as that states as to the type of fireworks were seized, document the amount of fireworks we seized, but once they get to another site, perhaps up here at our office and stored in our magazine, things tend to slow down. So the quicker we address it, the quicker we get to the court of competent jurisdiction. If the prosecuting attorney can get to a judge and or get an order to destroy and or the individual involved signs and releases those products to us and signs an order, some destruct paperwork that can be derived by the court. The prosecutor can draw up something, the individual can sign that, the judge can sign off on the destruction of it, or the court can order it destroyed. We try to do that as quickly as possible. The FEIB is not a bomb squad, but we also try to work with local bomb squads to get these products destroyed as close to the seizure site as possible. The more transports you have, the more logistics you get involved in. It's a challenge to get these products to a neutral site or a site competent to store the fireworks. So we oftentimes try to get that done as quickly as possible. Some examples of some sites gone wrong. 1.3G fireworks. These items are explosive. Professional shoot items are not intended for public use. Shells are 2 inches and above. You must have an exhibitor's license, permit, and the authority having jurisdiction authorization. These to us are extremely dangerous, unstable, and as you can see, they're harder to track, and we consider these to be our highest priority when we find out these are either on the black market or being mishandled, misused, being sold, whatever. We lays in on this because it also brings the interests of the United States Department of Homeland Security and ATF into the fray because of the volatile nature of these products. So 1.1G fireworks, these are explosives, professional shoot items. They're not intended for public use. These are even larger shells. To use these items, you must have an exhibitor's license, permit, and AHJ authorization. Also a very high priority for us if these are being used for nefarious purposes. These are just some picture examples, some shows. Here's some shows, 1.3G commercial incident, kind of gone wrong. Some rack failures, as you can see. Improvised fireworks. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, these are going up in nature in terms of their manufacturer. These can be made specifically as a firework or as a device. Can be made from unexploded items, normally very dangerous and unstable, commonly incorrect product mixtures, and these items are considered IEDs and would be addressed as IEDs when trying to file charges. We're not going to call it a homemade firework to the prosecutor. We're going to say it's an improvised explosive device using fireworks mixture, and once you cut into a firework, consumer grade firework, to try to get the flash powder out, you're entering a danger zone, as any bomb tech would tell you. So the inherent instability of the whole process is pretty high, and we've had a lot of people injured trying to do this. So tracing fireworks, 1.4G can be traced to point of purchase. They're decorated, they have barcodes on them, they have a lot of graphics on them. Generally, point of sale can be tracked back. 1.3G can sometimes be traced via manufacturer number on shell. That's if the manufacturer is known, the shipping, the point of entry, and sale information can be obtained. A lot of times they're just brown bags. They look like brown bags, that's it. So 1.4G contain those printed labels, have a UN label on them. The 1.3s contain no markings wrapped in that brown paper. The 1.4S are binary also with labeling, so 1.3 are actually tougher to get tracked down. The 1.4S fireworks, obviously these are considered special effects, flower pots, gerbs, fountains, showers, and flame effects. They're commonly mixed at display site and used indoor. They can be used at theaters, weddings, concerts, and special events. They're oftentimes called cold fireworks, however they emit significant heat. An example of that was the Station nightclub fire, which was a huge topic in the world of fire investigation. That happened at the time I was starting here. It was a huge deal. There have been a lot of case studies on the fire investigation side into that. It's worth looking at the videos, watching the videos and the studies that went into that, and the fire modeling that followed that ATF did. Kind of proves the fact that they're not cold. Fireworks investigation. These are initially conducted like any post-blast investigation. Render area safe, secure the scene, document and photograph the area. We're going to conduct the interviews, establish a fallout zone, and collect evidence. So we are going to, post-blast scene, we're going to use markers. We're going to try to find the area, the farthest area of debris. So the debris field will be examined to find out how far debris from the fireworks fell from where it detonated, because that's going to give us some ideas, and actually for future use. You know, if we find something that detonated a lot farther than what NFPA fallout zones would typically be, we want to know that. So we're going to do that. We're going to mark that debris. We may not mark it as extensively as you see here as we would in a post-blast scene with something like a pipe bomb, but we're going to mark those areas farthest away from where the firework detonated, because those are areas of interest for us. Is how far debris traveled, how far it was that people were put in danger away from the detonation itself. 1.4G fireworks storage, place in a magazine designated for the product, store in a cool, dry location. 1.3 fireworks also store in an explosive magazine designed for the product, store in a cool, dry location. Fireworks should not be exposed to moisture. Upon drying, these items become increasingly unstable and volatile. Most people do know that. There was an old adage back in the day that you throw them in water when you find them. People did that in fire stations and all across the state. I think we've hopefully got that message out that that's not a good practice. Fireworks as evidence. The storage of fireworks as evidence should comply with Ohio ATF and FPA storage guidelines. Live items should be placed in an approved storage magazine. Debris and used fireworks items can be stored like normal evidence. As I stated earlier, we would prefer to bring only sample storage items to at least our magazines here at SFM. It's better than trying to seize everything and try to bring it up here in mass, because then you have to schedule a destruct, and then things kind of get forgotten in the process, and so time passes, and the next thing you know, your magazines are full. So the quicker we can get it done, the better. And we really don't run into too many problems with that unless there's a terrain issue or it's really wet outside. Certain times of year it's very bad to try to do that. Certain times of year we have a lot of luck in getting them destroyed very quickly. We have an explosive detection canine team here at the office. Investigator Ron Steeman, Canine Raina, are based at headquarters for statewide response. We have used Raina successfully to identify the firework debris from an explosion. She's been used on numerous search warrants to find fireworks hidden inside properties. It's not very hard for her to do that. The amount of nitrates in fireworks, we're going to pique her interest very early on in how they're packaged. It does not hide the nitrate. So we've used her successfully in that. And any type of post-blast incident, she can come out, and she's a shortcut for us in a lot of ways by identifying anything that releases that nitrate residue that she can find. That can be the debris. That doesn't have to be the detonation site. We're not worried about that. We're worried about, we can send her out into a field and find debris at SARS locations rather than walking manually. We can use Raina to do that and allow us to probably find stuff that we may not have found or may not even see with the naked eye. We have a post-blast response unit. We just got a brand new trailer for that. It's out here. We actually have a UTV in it. Polaris Ranger to use on these sites so we can drive around a larger incident and we can retrieve evidence with that. We have testing equipment on there. So that comes out on a major incident we have. Luckily, fortunately, we haven't had anything major that would have required the response of that vehicle and trailer, but it's there if need be. A few other things, illegal manufacturing. This is just an example. A retired fireworks employee was storing and manufacturing in the basement of his house, and you can see the degradation of the product there. The lab and FEIB responded out there and tested these products. Just a little blurb on explosive targets. As you know, the exploding targets are legal to possess. It's a binary product, but once you mix the products, it's then illegal. So buying this at Gander Mountain or Bass Pro Shops or whatever, what you buy off the shelf is legal to buy. Once you mix the product, it then becomes illegal. A few other things that involve explosives, fireworks, is the hypergolic bottle bombs and one-pot methamphetamine production. We haven't seen fireworks migrate its way into that. I did want to show the pictures of these fireworks of storage facility explosions. Anybody knows the thickness and the strength of a Connex shipping container, and you can see what fireworks did to these shipping containers. So that should display the volatility of fireworks. So some more pictures. Here's an example of a 1.3 G shell, what it did to a residence and what it did to a door threshold detonating inside a residence. And I believe this was just only a 3 or 4 inch shell. Another view of that. Some pictures of some 1.4 G possessions that we have, there's some seizures that we have found just right inside people's residence or inside a garage. And anybody that would, with any sense, would know that that could go horribly wrong. Even with the small amount you see in a closet here compared to what you're seeing in a garage or in a living room. That's a bad situation. Improvised explosive devices. These are some pictures of some products in which flash powder from consumer grade fireworks were used. These look like little grenades. As you can see, different shapes. These were lit and were thrown, could also be placed in mailboxes. We've seen them placed in mailboxes just as pranks, thrown just for the fun of it by generally kids. But there's no guarantee how long that fuse is going to last, or if things were sealed up properly. So a hand injury or a facial injury is a potential likelihood. Just an example, the reason the white van's there is for a photo prop. We had an incident for years where you had an individual with a white van driving around the Cincinnati-Dayton area selling 1.3 G fireworks. We had some serious injuries evolved from the sale of fireworks from that individual. Luckily, a controlled traffic stop was made on that individual. Fireworks were seized, and he was charged in that incident. The other is a picture of a residence in an upscale neighborhood, once again in the between Cincinnati and Dayton, Warren County area, in which not only was a large amount of fireworks seized, but a large marijuana grow was also going on in the basement of the property that involved DEA. I think it was about a $1.6 million seizure of marijuana and also a large scale amount of fireworks. That search warrant was obtained through an undercover fireworks buy performed by FEIB, unbeknownst to them that there was a major drug investigation going on. So one agency was able to help the other unknowingly and end up, solving a larger problem. But that shows that criminals also sell fireworks to help profit them in other ways. Some more pictures of some 1.4 illegal possessions in a warehouse and sale. These are some pictures of some destructs. As you can tell, this is taking product from the seizure site to a nearby trench. Local bomb squad comes out, sets up a trench, builds a trench. This takes a lot of people and a lot of time. A lot of times the local street department or will get involved and get heavy equipment. They'll instruct them on how to dig the trench, and the bomb squad will come out. Someone will run to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or whatever and get some chicken wire, and you'll get some straw, and the fire department can wet things down, and there's a process. But if you get enough people to come in and help you, it can be done. As an example of that fireworks incident in South Carolina, where I think 2 or 3 people died, which were fireworks employees. Scotttown, Ohio, this was litigated and has been litigated since 1996. 9 people dead, 11 injured down in Lawrence County, really close to Huntington, West Virginia. And that was the fire protection system was temporarily shut down, and it didn't take much for an incident to occur. And as the rest they say is history. The fire department was a long way off, and this was in a very remote area. And the people in the store really didn't have much of a chance. So just a photo example of a fireworks injury, some fireworks injuries. SFM FEIB has investigated several fatalities involving homemade mortars and both 1.4G and 1.3G products. We have had fatalities with 1.4G as well. It doesn't sound like it would be possible, but it's very possible, and it's happened. We've seen multiple fatalities with 1.3G, and I'll talk about one of those. So when to call, all 1.3G commercial fireworks incident involving injury or significant rack failures, the discovery or sale of contraband 1.3G or 1.4G products, the discovery of any manipulated or improvised fireworks. This will usually involve a call to the local bomb squad. We are not going to render that safe. We're going to tell you to call the bomb squad, and we'll be on our way. A lot of people assume that FEIB is also a bomb squad, in which we're not. The illegal wholesale or theft of 1.4G products in large quantities, or to request guidance or assistance in product seizure or destruction. A fireworks incident has occurred. What should you do? Secure the scene. Assure that the scene has been rendered safe, which again may include contacting a bomb squad. Do not alter the scene. Call us 24 hours a day with our number listed on here, 800-589-2728. So some friendly reminders. The SFM does not have the ability of storing and transporting a large quantity of fireworks. We have a few storage magazines here, but we're not able to go out on a massive seizure and really just bring it up to the office. We don't have the storage capacity. We'll work with local authorities to secure a safe destruct as close to the seizure site as possible. Despite getting requests on a routine basis, FEIB investigators are not always available to retrieve small quantities of Seized 1.4 from local authorities, so we must triage our time due to the volume of investigations we conduct. We get a lot of calls, hey, we found this, or we've got this. We just don't have the time to drive around the state and grab a bag of fireworks, and so we try to give some direction and some consultation to those who call us for those type of things. So a few extra things I was going to plug in there. We do have a few extra pieces of equipment that we can use in regards to fireworks incident. One is we're increasing the amount of UAVs, drones that we have. We're in the process. We have 3 drones right now in operation. We possess 4. We're ordering all new drones with thermal imaging, and also one of the drones is more expensive and has a bunch of mapping capabilities for specifically that would address a large fireworks incident or post-blast investigation, where that drone will fly over and map the scene. That will take different pictures, 4 different cameras on it, and then once it's mapped and measured, that can be taken to the lab and they can create a 3D rendering of the incident. That goes for any post-blast incident, would be a fireworks incident, or even a large structure fire or large fire scene. It will fly back and forth for a long period of time and take pictures and measurements, and that's something that we'll find to be very useful in the event something like this happens. We also have one digital x-ray right now with a second one that should be here any time. Those digital x-rays will help us identify unknown devices, because we get things brought in here to the lab, or we get called out on things or find things at a fire scene that could have originated from a firework or whatever. We can identify some things through the x-ray process, not to render it safe, but we can identify things through an x-ray process that may give us an inclination as to what it is. So if it's an improvised device that's caused a fire, we find something in the debris. We can also x-ray things on site to basically provide a safe environment for our employees to work. Just a couple incidents of note in regards to fireworks that I will bring up. We just finished prosecuting an incident in Scioto County that occurred in 2019 that resulted in the death of a young male. That male was part of an illegal 1.3G/1.4G display, family reunion type thing that was pretty widely attended. The young man, it was actually a show that was electronically shot. Even though it was homemade, it was electronically shot, and a lot of the shells did not go off. The young man went and tried to hand light a 3-inch shell, which took his life. we conducted a pretty large-scale investigation and tied it into another large community fireworks display that was normally held, that involved prominent members of the community coming out to that display. There were multiple individuals involved in this, supplying fireworks and supplying racks. So basically two different displays went on in Scioto County. They worked together to pull them off. Both were illegal. And we ended up successfully prosecuting members actually of the victim's family, and a prominent member of the community was also prosecuted, pled guilty in regards to this individual's death. It also involved the revocation of an ATF licensee in Indiana, and who was probably tied to various other fireworks seizures across Michigan and even as far away as Chicago, and some fireworks incidents, that same individual. So in an agreement, he agreed to a license, basically a revocation of his license in lieu of prosecution. So I think we may have solved a problem as a tragic incident. Another incident I would bring up that involved 1.4G fireworks was approximately 10 years ago in Proctorville in Lawrence County, just across from Huntington, West Virginia. An elderly couple perished in a residence in a bedroom-style community in which all the people in the neighborhood were setting off 1.4G fireworks over the 4th, and basically the whole neighborhood was littered with fireworks debris, and we found the fire had originated on the back of the house in a kind of a refuse container on the back of the house, and the elderly man was able to escape and realized his wife, who was a partial invalid, was unable to get out, so he went back in to try to get her out and was unable to. They both perished. We found debris in that immediate area, but were unable to successfully prosecute anyone because the number of people that were setting off fireworks in the area was too large. The prosecutor couldn't figure out who would have been the guilty individual that this bottle rocket fell in the wrong place. So those are some incidents where 1.4G fireworks caused a larger problem, and also a 1.3G display caused a problem that I can use as an example. If anybody has anything else, I believe that'll conclude my presentation.